All right, so in this video, we should have the project working with no errors. Like if I hit clear, they go away. If I run the game, there's no errors. And what I want to do now is just kind of overview what this test level, quote unquote, is. So you'll see we have this kind of like what you could call a gray box texture. It has a 1 meter grid on it. I'm just going to actually stop the game and I'll just use the scene controls to kind of show you. It says 1 meter there. And we have a little like hallway thing to test doors and understand scale and see what happens with our camera when we go in there. We have some ramps to test like what the steepest angle the player can go up. Some stairs to see what happens with that, and we have our camera set up, and this yellow thing is a test NPC. All right, so it's good practice to always start a game project with a test level like this, where you just kind of have one of everything that is going to be in the core functionality of your game, and make sure it's working right, and make sure it all fits together and cooperates. So when you hit play, you should, in your game window, your mouse cursor is going to disappear. I should mention this earlier. If you press escape, your mouse cursor will come back. That way you can like stop the game or do things. Click back in the window and it's locked in. And locking the mouse cursor will help you help your game kind of work better, so that's why we do it. But when we're developing, we have to be able to hit escape and click buttons. So WASD moves my character, so he like strafes and backpedals and moves forward, and the mouse controls the camera. When you start walking, the camera rather is going to move behind. Well, actually the camera stays the same. The character turns while it's walking if you move the camera. It's kind of confusing, but the idea is that we want to be able to look around, see the front and back and sides of the character, orbit it if we're not moving. But then when we are moving, we want the character to be facing forward. The direction of the camera is forward, so that the player can see where they're going. It's good to be able to orbit to kind of create a more immersive feel. So that's why that's like that. Also, if I press shift or hold shift, either way, I can start running. And there's a little bit different of a camera here. It's like, it's intended to have like some shake to it, which is customizable, and it is a little farther back. And there's a little bit different of a field of view, a little bigger of a field of view. And you move faster. So the other thing here is we let the player face the camera. So the camera is not, the player is not like locked to rotating towards the cameras forward anymore, which is kind of confusing. So when I'm regular walking, I'll never be able to see the side or front of the character, but when I'm sprinting, I can. And again, this is meant to just kind of add a more immersive feel to everything, and I basically tried my best to make it feel like the Resident Evil 2 remake. So if you've ever played that, that's kind of what I was going for with this setup. So anyway, I think this will work pretty well for kind of creating the immersive feel of a like town scene, or like a just any kind of environmental scene in a game that is going to have characters you can talk to and props and interesting environments to explore. The hallway is again just to test doors and scale. And what happens with your camera if you try to put it through a wall. And it basically, I think it works pretty good, but in a real AAA game, we would be spending like months making our camera and movement awesome. I did this in like a day. So be, that's the disclaimer, I guess. The angles here can be customized. I guess I can show you that. If you click on, if I'm going to stop this, I'll show you how some of this is kind of set up. If you find this thing that says XBot, that's the name of the model that I'm using. And if you expand it, you'll see it has a bunch of stuff. The one we care about is called player character. And this is going to have all, this game object is going to have all of the stuff you need to customize how your character works. I don't want to get too hung up on customization yet. So maybe I'll show you the ins and outs of this on a later video, but I don't think it's super important to what we're doing just yet. But just to kind of show you, like, the character controller, you can change the angle, the slope limit, I mean, so that would adjust like how steep of an angle you're able to walk up. Step offset is like how big of a bump you can like pop up over as opposed to being blocked by. All right, so there's one thing I overlooked and I didn't even add it into the character controller until just the second. But I realized that the way I programmed this, it worked with an inverted camera Y, which I'm used to, but I know many aren't. So if you stop the game, remember your changes don't work they don't save if the game's running. So typically you can experiment while the game's running, and then when the game's stopped, you want to make the changes that you want to have permanently. Anyway, find your player character. So you would expand the character here, find player character. And on this third person character controller script, you can uncheck invert camera Y. And I think this will help you if that's the way you like your game to feel. All right, just wanted to add that. The other thing I want to show you is the NPC. In theory, if you walk up to it, it'll say test NPC. If you walk away from it, that'll go away. He's like doing what's called a bark. That little text bubble is a bark. And if I walk up to the NPC and I hit spacebar, dialogue system will show up. I got my cursor back. I can't move anymore. And with my cursor, I can select a dialogue option. And then that takes me back out of dialogue and I can move again. All right, that's the gist of it. Again, kind of make sure this is working for you. If it's not working, let me know. Don't get too carried away trying to customize things yet. We will talk about that later. We want to just get the essentials working. All right, thanks. I'll see you in the next video here.